and we have discussed different types of scaling techniques. The relevance of that we have discussed. Yesterday, you would have discussed about how to export the data from Excel to SPSS and how to go about with reliability test. Even that would have been covered yesterday. From today's session, we will be moving on to data analysis. So I'll be assuming you all have your data with you. After collecting the data, how to go about with your analysis. I'm planning to discuss both descriptive and inferential analysis. And this is what I have prepared for my discussion with you. I'm going to emphasize on how to use descriptive analysis in commerce and social science research. And with that, few inferential analysis, how to frame hypothesis, steps in the process of preparing an hypothesis. And then these are all the tools I'm planning to discuss. I have sample data. With that, I will be showing a demo. Okay. So on the day one, we will be discussing today, we will be discussing t-test, ANOVA and Chisquare. And tomorrow, I'm planning to discuss factor analysis, regression and structural equation model, because this is the buzzword today. So I thought all the budding researchers should know what is structural equation model and how to prepare a model for any kind of commerce and social science research. So with this, we'll go with our today's discussion. When it comes to data in research, we have both the qualitative and quantitative data. While using your data for valid interpretation, you should know to apply some kind of statistical tools or techniques which will help you to draw meaningful inferences from your data. Data are the numbers or the numbers, whatever you have, that should be interpreted properly to convert that to some kind of information, a relevant information. So the raw content must be converted to reliable inference or information. Okay. So in general, we will have two types of analysis, descriptive analysis and inferential analysis. Descriptive analysis describes some information, some number-based information about your data in the study. Usually in case of descriptive analysis, we will be using measures of central tendency and measures of dispersion. In statistics, we all have learned what is measures of dispersion and measures of central tendency. Depending upon your research and depending upon the purpose of your research, you can go ahead with any kind of statistical tool. 1 second. We'll move on to slideshow. Okay. So descriptive analysis helps you to describe your data or the information, whatever you have collected. I would like to give you some simple information. Almost all of us are teachers. We are collecting a lot of information about our students. I'll give you some information or I'm taking this example to explain what is descriptive analysis. When we are collecting marks from the students, what are we doing? We are collecting, we are evaluating, and we are giving them marks. And sometimes we are doing some kind of analysis. But with the outcome-based education, today we are evaluating in detail to find out whether the knowledge level, whatever is expected, or the understanding, or whatever is the expected outcome from each and every question or test or any kind of activity that is organized in an institution that reaches the students in the right manner. That is gaining more importance. So under this circumstance, we should know to describe student-related information in detail. So I'm taking this simple example of assume you have your students' marks. You are evaluating the students for 100 marks. Okay. So similarly, you may also be having any kind of data with you, maybe some sales related information, sales for a month, or impact of uh, advertisements or promotional tools on the turnover of the organization, or sales mela organized by the retail outlet and its impact on relationship building, or it can be anything. So you will have some number with you. That number need to be interpreted in a meaningful manner. Okay, in case of descriptive analysis, we will be describing to make meaningful inferences about the number, whatever we have in hand. Okay, so when it comes to students' information, assume you are evaluating your financial accounting answer papers. With your answer papers, what kind of inferences we can draw? We can find out the number of students in the class, maximum number of students. Let us assume 50 students are there. And out of 50 students, and you are conducting an examination for 100 marks, what is the range of marks obtained by the entire class? The range of marks starts from 35 to 100 marks, or your students would have scored minimum mark could also be starting from 75. 75 to 99 can also be. That shows the range shows the type of students you have in your classroom, their learning ability. When we are classifying students into slow learners or moderate learners or high achievers, this information is of high relevance. Therefore, range of marks obtained by the students, minimum marks and the maximum marks scored by the students. With that, we can infer a lot of information. And the class average. What is the class average? Class average tells you about the the overall class's performance. So the mean, by using mean, you can find out the class average. And then by using mode, you can find out maximum number of students scored what type of marks, or the range of marks scored by maximum number of students. It could be 75 or 85, or it can be 45. It can be any number. With that, you will infer that majority of them are falling in this particular category. Majority of them are scoring this particular mark. So that will tell you where the majority of the students are. Okay. So with this, we can understand the maximum number of students in the class, minimum marks and the maximum marks scored by them, class average, on an average, what is the performance of the class, and then which type of score is maximum or mostly scored by the students, the range, maximum range where majority of the students are there, and then the midpoint, mid-scorer, score of an average student. Arrange all your marks either ascending or in the descending order and find out the midpoint, where the midpoint is. That will tell you where your range, that has an association between your range and your mean. You will find out your midpoint. Okay, that midpoint is an interesting thing that will tell you where your average range is. And then we have this measures of dispersion where standard deviation and coefficient of variance are measured. In case of standard deviation tells you the difference between mean score and average performer in the class, any other performer in the class, the difference between average performer and others, variation from mean. So assume the minimum marks scored by assume a person has scored 42 marks. Okay, 42 marks, and the difference between the mean, where the difference between the mean score and the maximum, the deviations, standard deviations that are there from each and every. So you can, with standard deviation, you can find out what is the difference between each and every student in the class, the central point of the performer and the others, the difference between one person and the other person, and coefficient of variation, which is again the square root of standard deviation, which tells you the ratio of standard deviation to the mean. The higher the coefficient of variation, the greater is the level of dispersion around the mean. So it is generally expressed in terms of percentage. So with that percentage, we can find out what is the percentage of deviation from the midpoint to any other person, any other student in the class. Okay, so this is one simple example of application of descriptive analysis. For your study, you can also find out your population. You can find out your population's average earning, population's average age group, and then population's purchase intentions. If they have responded to any particular question, maximum number of respondents preferred what, least preference is given to which type of data. So when you are introducing your respondents in your study, you can use descriptive analysis, which will also help you to introduce all these study variables in the study. And you are also introducing, or you are describing how they are performing in your particular study. So this will set the base for further process or analysis. So that is the purpose of descriptive analysis. With this, we are moving on to inferential analysis. The basic difference between inferential analysis and descriptive analysis is, in case of inferential analysis, we will be testing hypothesis. We will have some assumptions. With the assumption only, we will be proceeding in case of inferential analysis. So when we are discussing about hypothesis, you should know what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is a tentative assumption. Before you start your research work, you will have some assumption. You will have some kind of ideology for doing your research. You will assume certain things. There is a positive relationship between gold price and the demand for gold price. That can be your assumption. There can be other. So you will have. So with that assumption, you will be starting your study. There can also be like so many assumptions when you are starting your research work. Those assumptions will be justified in your need and the importance of the study. Okay, so based on the need and importance of the study, you would have prepared your objectives. From your objectives, you will be framing your hypothesis. These hypotheses will help you to frame conceptual framework. With your conceptual framework, you will you'll be deciding the details that you want to prove. All those will be in the form of hypothesis. In case of hypothesis, there are different steps or different types of hypotheses are also there. There's something called null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, so the crude hypothesis, and there are a lot of hypotheses. But then when it comes to testing of hypothesis, we will always be considering null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is always a negative statement where whatever may be the statistical data you have, your basic assumption is those data sets, there's no association, or there is no correlation, or there is no relationship between the data whatever you are using. With that assumption only you will be proceeding. So always your null hypothesis is a negative statement which is created in order to prove whether it is negative or positive. You will either be accepting your null hypothesis or you will be rejecting your hypothesis. Okay, so always hypothesis is an assumption with which you will be starting your research. A null hypothesis is an hypothesis which is framed, a negative statement which is framed for the purpose of rejecting it. Usually, the researcher's objective is to reject the null hypothesis only. Okay, so while framing the hypothesis, the step one is to identify the null hypothesis, and then you will have alternate hypothesis. This alternate hypothesis is just the opposite of null hypothesis. And then while deciding your steps, you will also be mentioning the significance level. How significant, how statistically free or error-free your particular study is, whether it is 95% significant or 99% significant. So that is usually given. That is part of your significance level. And then test statistics. Test statistics is nothing but the tool, whatever you are planning to apply. To prove this hypothesis, I'm planning to apply t-test, or to prove this or disprove this hypothesis, I'm planning to apply Chisquare or ANOVA, or whatever may be the test. You will be introducing that particular test statistics. And then you will have your in statistics class, you all would have learned how to calculate the test value. In SPSS, it will be the p-value, and depending upon the test result, you will have the values there. And then usually while doing problems in manually, we will be having something called the critical value or the table value, which is being considered based on the tables, but p-value is considered in case of SPSS, that we will be discussing while doing the problem. And then usually while doing problems manually, we will be comparing and we will be deciding. And here we will be considering the p-value, and based on that we will accept or reject the particular test. And then finally, making decisions or interpreting the results, which is very, very important. In terms of research, the basic or for all the researchers, one thing we have to be clear, we have to define the hypothesis clearly. When you are defining your null hypothesis, you have to clearly define your hypothesis, and the statistical tool, whatever you are planning to use, that should also be relevant for your study. So when you're choosing some statistical tool, refer a lot of reviews, find out what other people are using to analyze this particular association or to prove similar kind of information, what type of statistical tools are used by others. Okay. Knowledge of statistical tools or knowledge of the subject alone is not enough. You should also know the relevance of applying certain statistical tools. Okay. We are not in research, we are not here to prove our knowledge on statistics. We are here to make or suggest the right type of decision. Interpreting the information is very, very important. So interpretation is possible only based on the right type of assumptions. Okay. So be clear with that. With that, we'll proceed with the tools for the day. I'm planning to discuss t-test, ANOVA, and Chisquare today, as already mentioned. In terms of t-test, t-test is known as student t-test. Usually, t-test and ANOVA compares means, the relationship between mean and the other details. In terms of t-test can be applied for small samples. There are three types of t-test. One sample t-test, bivariate and paired t-test. 1 second. So all these are used depending upon the circumstance. Today I'm using my one of my paper to give you.
Participants, kindly switch off your videos and audio.
I have one of my paper. Only with that paper we are going to discuss today. So I for t-test, I'm also taking 1 or 2 problems from SP Gupta. I would like to show you how the calculations are made manually and how the results are interpreted. The same thing we are going to apply with SPSS also. Okay. So let's see how to apply. I'm taking this particular problem where univariate data. Univariate is you will have only one line of information. Okay, this is the circumstance. A manufacturer of certain make of electric bulb claims that the mean life of a particular product, mean life of 25 months with a standard deviation of 5 months. A random sample of 6 such bulbs are given. Okay, so we have to find out whether the producer's claim is valid at 1% level of significance. This is the problem from SB Gupta. So here the null hypothesis is always a negative statement, right? So there's no significant difference between sample mean life of bulbs and actual life of bulbs is our assumption. With that assumption, we are proceeding. So this is how in SP Gupta, the problem is worked out. Okay. So you will have, by applying the formula, you can find out here based on the table value, the hypothesis is accepted. Hence, the producer's claim is not valid at 1% level of significance. This is how SP Gupta's result is given. Now we are moving on to SPSS to find out how to apply this particular tool. 1 second. So this is the data given to us, right? You just copy this information and go to your SPSS, paste this content in your SPSS sheet. Is it visible? Is the sheet visible to you? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You are just copying the content here. Then save this content. I'm just saving this as untitled in the desktop. Okay. Now go to your data. You can do your analysis. These things are disturbing me. Go to your analyze. We are doing compare means, right? T-test is used. Compare means what is the type of data we have? One sample t-test. Okay. So we are using one sample t-test. This is the data we have. Transfer it here. Go to your options. Fix the level of confidence. If whether your confidence level is 99% or 95%, that we have to decide. Otherwise, nothing else. With this, we can proceed. We will get the answer. Very simple it is. We will get the t-test answer. So with this, we can proceed with our interpretation. Okay. I repeat, listen. We are just copying the content and we are pasting it here in the SPSS input, data input column. And then in analyze, go to analyze, compare means we have one sample t-test, choose this, send the variable here in the test variables, go to options and then choose your level of confidence. The system will take care and finally you will get your answer. Continue with this. Okay, if you can give, you will get the answer. You will get your answer, your t-test, whatever you have applied. This is how your answer will appear. Okay. So now I'm moving on to my PPT slide. I thought of using hyperlink. It is taking time. So for the same question, hypothesis is there's no significant difference in the mean life of bulbs in the sample and that of the population. Alternate hypothesis is defined like this, degrees of freedom and those stuff. Okay. Here we are accepting the null hypothesis. So how that will appear here in SPSS, this is how it will appear. The same hypothesis holds good. Okay. So if you have a data of this particular kind, when you want to compare that, if you have some price index or some amount or some value which is given by government or by some statistical from some authentic source, if you want to prove or disprove that, you can use t-test. This is how you can use t-test. Okay. And then there's something called paired comparison method before giving the test and after giving the test. The sales campaign, after introducing the sales campaign, what is the, so assume whenever you want to compare some information, before giving the training, what is the performance of the students? After giving the training, what is the performance of the students? Is there any positive impact that is seen on the students or their productivity that we can measure by using this paired comparison? So wherever you have, so data had to be collected from the same type of respondents before and after. It can be training, or it can be sales campaign, or it can be assume some motivational before taking people for some outbound training, or before giving the motivation incentive, after giving the incentive, what is the productivity? wherever you want to find out with the same set of respondents, before and after, if you want to find out, you can use this particular test. This is also in t-test. This is paired comparison test. Okay. In paired comparison test, in this problem, this is also from SP Gupta. He is giving some information about some 12 participants before giving some accounting training, and after giving accounting training, their performance or their marks are given to us. Our hypothesis is whether the training is having an impact on the productivity of the students. That is what we are supposed to find out. Okay. So we will assume there is no difference between pre-training and post-training performance. So always null hypothesis is a negative statement, right? So there is no difference between pre-training and post-training performance will be our assumption. With that assumption, in SP Gupta, this is how the problem is worked out by applying the formula. Okay. So in SPSS, let us see how to take that information. Okay. So this is how he's proving the hypothesis is rejected based on the values. SP Gupta's calculations are here. Now we are moving on to SPSS to check our data. Okay. So data is here in my Excel. I'm copying that. Paired sample t-test. So that information before and after, whatever is there, I'm copying this information. We are moving on to SPSS. In SPSS, I'm saving this before and after here. The variable view, I'm changing the variable. One information per candidate, even for the previous one, it is also nominal, right? So this is before and this is after. Okay. So save your content. Before and after, your content is there. You change your measure, whether it is nominal or ordinal, give that information to your SPSS. Now go to analyze. In compare means, what are we doing? We are doing paired sample t-test. Select paired sample t-test. Choose these two items, send it here. Then go to your options. In options, we have to choose only the confidence level, 95% or 99% confidence, level of confidence. Choose that, then accept it. You will get your answer here. Is it visible? Is it? So the significance level, you can proceed with your significance level. So very simple it is. We are just applying the tool. The tool is very simple. You can see the steps in the process. What are we doing? I am repeating the steps once again. In case of paired sample t-test, go to analyze. We are comparing means. Okay, so choose your paired sample t-test. We are comparing before and after performance of your students or employees or training. You have two set of data. Okay, choose those two set of data. Go to your options, fix your confidence level. With that, if you can continue, you will get your answer like this. With this, we can interpret the results. Any doubt to anyone? Shall I proceed? So this is the significance level. With this, we can interpret the results. The result is correlation between before and after training is the R value. Or where is the R value? Correlation is 0.937 and the P value is also less than 5%. Therefore, null hypothesis is rejected. What is the null hypothesis? There is no difference. The training does not have an impact, assume pannirnom, which is now rejected. Okay, training has an impact on the performance of the students. That is what is our final conclusion. Any doubt? Shall I proceed? So we have learned if we have one sample, univariate data, if we have how to apply t-test, and then in case of bivariate, if we have before and after, if we have paired information, how to do that analysis that we have analyzed. Okay. Now we are moving on to the third type of test, independent sample t-test. Independent sample t-test, I'm just moving on with my data. I did a paper on factors influencing investment in gold by respondents. I've collected data from 310 respondents. With that data, we are going to discuss. One of my assumption is generally we are thinking when it comes to investment in gold, generally we are assuming women have grace for gold and women tend to invest more in gold. With that assumption, I wanted to find out whether gender has an impact on the investment risk or investment in gold. With that, I have proceeded this entire study. So here I would like to find out the perception of my respondents on the risk, gender and investment risk perception. Okay. So I've collected my data. I will show you the demo on. So go to your Excel where you will have gender. I have coded my gender. Men as 1 and women as 2. Okay. Their risk perception details I have already collected. I have taken the weighted average of their risk perception. That detail is here. I will show you my basic data also in Excel. When you're when you're collecting your data will come like this. Based on my questionnaire, this is the response I have got from the respondents. I have coded all their details. Okay. Their perception of risk and those details also I have coded and everything is ready here. I'm just measuring whether gender has an impact on the risk perception. So what are we doing? I have copied information relating to gender and information relating to their risk perception. Okay. Just copy from Excel. I'm just copying it in SPSS. Okay. Now go to your variable view. What is this? The first data is gender. So just write it gender and the second data is your risk perception. Okay. Gender is nominal. Risk perception, I've collected data based on rating scale. Okay. So just save that and then go to your analyze. What are we doing? We are once again comparing means. We are applying independent sample t-test. What is the test variable here? Test variable is risk. What is the grouping data? You are grouping the data based on gender. We have to define the group. Grouping when you're, I have given 1 for men and 2 for women. It can be any number. Group 1 consists of 1, group 2 consists of 2. It can be 0 and 1. It can be any number. If you have more than that, you will also be giving different type of number. Okay. So men and women, how I have grouped that information, we have to feed to the system and then go to your options, 95% or 99% confidence level. You enter that, you'll get your result. Is there any association between risk perception and the gender? The result is 0.272. So there's no association is what we are finding out. Okay. So you will have, I'm just moving on to my PPT. You will have your data here like this. Then go to your compare means, choose independent sample t-test and then copy paste the content. You will take this significance level to measure whether you can accept or reject. Okay. You will also be considering the p-value. So here, what are we getting? 2.272 we are getting. We are getting 0.272 because it is more than 5%, 27%. So null hypothesis is rejected. Conclusion, there is significant difference in the investment risk perception of men and women. Men and women will perceive risk in investment in different manner is what we are inferring from my particular data. Okay. Any doubt? Any doubt? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Or do you want me to give?
Yes, proceed. Yes, proceed.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so this is how we are applying t-test. So whenever we are comparing means, we can go ahead with the, depending upon your objectives, you can go ahead with any one of the technique. Okay. So this is about t-test. Now we are moving on to the next test. ANOVA. How is it different from t-test? Once again, in ANOVA also, we are comparing means between more than two groups. In case of t-test, we are comparing only maximum. We will compare the mean score of two category. It can either be men and women, or those who are vaccinated, not vaccinated, or it can be any two category of people with whom we will be doing or comparing. Okay, now when we have more than two category, we can apply ANOVA. ANOVA is the tool that we are going to discuss now. So usually the influence of one particular variable on the other variable is measured by using ANOVA. We will see how to use ANOVA and how to interpret the results from ANOVA. Since I have opened too many sheets, I'll copy from here. One second. We need, we are taking family annual income. Income category is there. So income and so from your Excel, whatever coded information you have, just copy that income group, copy that and paste it in your data. Go to your variable view. This is your income group. Change it to income group. Income group is an ordinal. So change it to ordinal. And then okay, saving habit, income and saving habit. Saving habit of the respondents. You have, are they saving or not? They saving habit. Copy that information. If it is a live class, if we are doing it in live, it will be very easy for us to understand. Since I'm operating, I'm showing the demo sometimes. Risk perception. Sorry, it is saving habit. Saving habit. Saving habit is a nominal. They have given yes or no, whether they are saving or not saving. We are now moving on to ANOVA. In terms of ANOVA is used to find out wherever we have more than two groups, income group or educational group, or wherever we have more than two groups, how to find out how to compare the means. Go to your analyze, compare means, choose one-way ANOVA. So we are analyzing what is the dependent variable here. Savings is the dependent variable here. Income is the factor with which we are going to discuss. No need to define these things. Just choose 2K alone. Significance level we are checking. With that, we can go ahead with the test. Significant. There is, so we are finding out it is significant. Okay. Our null hypothesis is there is no association between income and saving habit, right? Our result is income group and saving habit is closely associated. There is no association is our assumption, but income and saving habit are associated. That is what we are finding out from this. The basic difference between t-test and ANOVA is, in case of t-test, we have found out only yes or no. But here, in terms of ANOVA, we will go in detail. We will find out which income group is interested in saving habit, which group is highly influential, or which group or which category of people are interested in more savings. So with that, we can interpret the result in terms of ANOVA. So we have all these income group. You can see the significance level. The fourth category of income group is highly significant, which is you can see in all the levels, where the fourth group is, when compared to the other things, fourth group is significant. So our conclusion is income has an association with saving habit, and especially it predominantly influences the level 4 category of income group. So when you are taking some advertisement campaign, or when you are going in for some kind of promotional thing, you have to concentrate on that particular segment. That is the conclusion from this. So depending upon your study, you can apply this particular tool and you can find out the relevance of that. So far we have learned t-test and ANOVA and apply that. If you have any doubt, you can ask me for 5 minutes before we proceed with our next tool for the day, which is Chisquare. Nagalakshmi ma'am, are you here? Would you like to make any, would you like to add anything to the discussion, madam?
Ma'am, she's not there in the meeting.
Okay. Okay, there are few questions in the chat box. For t-test, small group means what is the maximum number, ma'am? Maximum, that depends upon your, with the SPSS, all these statistical tools can handle any number of students, any number of response. So usually manual computation, when we were doing manual computation, maximum, anything more than 30 is assumed to be a large sample, because manually we were working out. So now for AMAS or for SPSS, when you want to prove the interrelationship among various variables, anything more than 300 will become a basic good sample kind of. Anything less than 300 will give you, may not be reliable, and you may not be able to get better results. So maximum number systems can, big data is easily handled. There's no maximum number. So go for in research, maybe for school projects or for college, undergraduate or postgraduate projects, students are taking 100 as their maximum sample. 100 is just to understand how to apply this particular tool or a technique, but that may not give you proper result when it comes to proving your population related information. Therefore, you have to be clear. The higher the sample or higher the response, the better the result will also. So you have to be careful with that. So collect as much as response, and you can go with your sample validity, and then with that you can proceed. Okay. Any doubt to anyone? Any other question? Application of this. Do you want me to give a demo for ANOVA once again, or if it is clear, we will move on to Chi-square. Shall I proceed with Chi-square?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chi-square is the next test I'm planning to discuss. Chi-square is usually applied to find out the association, whether there is association between one variable and the other variable. Chi-square is usually, it's one of the non-parametric test, which is applied to test a hypothesis. So when you have some assumption, when you are collecting when you are converting your qualitative information into quantitative information, you can apply chi-square. So here, in general, your assumptions will be association. Is there any association between this and this? Is there any association between price and the quantity demanded? Is there any association between declaration of this particular assume tax rate declared by government and its impact on investment in cryptocurrency? 30% capital gain tax is imposed. Is there any impact on whether that has an impact on saving habit of those who are crypto investors? Okay, so it can be there's no association between gender and political party, or there is no association between income and online window shopping. You can have such kind of assumptions, and with those assumptions you will be proceeding with your analysis. In my study, I have chosen these two variables, marital status and saving habit. Once again, whatever we did in terms of income group and the saving habit in ANOVA, we are doing marital status and saving habit here. So take your marital status and saving habit of your respondents. This I have saved it here. So from your data source, you take marital and saving habit, whether they are saving or not, yes or no, they have given. So take that information, copy that in your, copy this and paste it in your go to your variable view. This is your marital status, and then this is your saving habit is already there. We can use that also. Saving habit. Marital is, so it's not taking, so we can clear this. So we are using marital status and savings. Okay. Marital status is nominal. It will either be yes or no. Okay. So now go to your analyze. Go to your descriptive statistics where we have cross tabs. Can you see how simple it is to use SPSS? Only thing is you should know what type of analysis and how you are going to do the analysis. Only that is very important. Marital status and saving habit. Your level of confidence. choose your confidence level. Then your test statistics, chi-square. You are choosing your chi-square. With that, proceed. You'll get your answer. You'll get your interpretations here. 1%. So there is association between these two variables. Marital status and income. Marital status. So generally what will we assume? When people get married, they will become more responsible. They want to save and they will save more amount, or that's the assumption, right? So there is no association between marital status and saving habit. P-value is less than 5%. Therefore, null hypothesis is accepted. Irrespective of the marital status, respondents prefer to save, is what we are finding out from this particular analysis. Whether you are married or not. Marriage is not a... so generally, we will assume after marriage, people tend to save more amount. Before marriage, people tend to spend more. They'll be interested in spending. Marriage makes us more responsible kind of assumption is there. With that assumption only, I did this particular analysis. I wanted to find out whether marital status has an impact on saving habit. People are so clever, as and when they start earning, they are interested in saving also. Okay. So from my particular study, from my respondents group, irrespective of marital status, respondents prefer to save. This is what is my findings. Okay. So how to proceed? I'll give you a demo once again. What are we assuming? We are checking whether marriage has an impact on, marital status has an impact on savings pattern of the respondents. Okay. Marital status, with respect to marital status, I have collected data from married people and unmarried people. My respondents are both the categories are there. Okay. I have collected whether they are interested in saving in gold. Okay. Saving habit, marital status and saving habit. My null hypothesis is there is no association between marital status and saving habit. With that, I have proceeded. So with respect to your SPSS, when you go to your analyze, just copy and paste the content, go to your descriptive statistics and descriptive statistics, go to cross tabs and choose your variables. Okay. Marital status and savings, and then go to your exact where you will give your confidence level, and then the statistics, whatever may be the statistics you are going to apply. Here we are applying chi-square. With that, just give proceed. Okay, it will give you the result. Okay, we have to check only the p-value. P-value here is 1%, 0.1. So 1% is the p-value. So which is less than 5%. Therefore, we are accepting. Okay. So this is how we have to proceed in terms of chi-square. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? So far we have discussed descriptive analysis. In terms of descriptive analysis, the purpose of descriptive analysis is to describe the variables, whatever is there in your study. Study variables are introduced and you are describing how many of them are there, what are all their categories, their income group, their educational background, and then their minimum purchase or maximum purchase, or depending upon. So you are introducing who are all your respondents. So you are describing, you will give, the description is based on factual information, whatever you have collected. So that's about your descriptive analysis. And then in terms of inferential analysis, where inferential analysis is always based on certain assumptions. You will be having certain assumptions. Those assumptions are framed in the form of hypothesis, and you will be testing those hypotheses. Hypothesis is nothing but your tentative assumption. When it comes to testing of hypothesis, these are all the steps involved in the testing of hypothesis. You will list down all the steps in the process of testing your hypothesis. And depending upon your objective, depending upon the purpose, and depending upon the type of data you have collected, you will decide your statistical tool. And after choosing your statistical tool, you will apply the right type of, based on the assumptions, you will apply the right type of technique. So you can either use t-test or ANOVA or chi-square. That is what we have discussed today. T-test is generally used to compare the mean value between two groups, generally men and women, before and after. If it is independent, if it is univariate data, if you have some standard information, some standard data which is given by government, or whether your sample group matches with that, if you want to compare, if you want to do some kind of analysis, then you will go for one sample t-test, where you will have only one standard in one set of data. Assume your income tax related information or sales related information. Assume generally for during sales mela, the company will get some turnover, some fixed turnover, let us assume, maybe some 10 lakh as your turnover. During the period, every month, assume for the last 12 months, they are doing some sales campaign, and every month they are, during the sales melas, their sales are recorded, let us assume. Okay. So now if you want to compare whether it is in coherence with whatever is fixed or whatever is decided already, you will go for one sample t-test, and with that you will be comparing and finding out whether you are matching with the mean which is already decided or which is already fixed. Okay. This paired sample t-test is usually from the same set of respondents. You have to collect two types of information, before or after, before introducing the scheme, after introducing the scheme, before Corona, what is the consumption, after Corona, what is the consumption, before introducing digital marketing, what is the impact on certain activities, after introducing, what is the impact. So from the same set of respondents, if you have two type of information, then you can go for paired sample t-test. And then the third thing is independent sample t-test. Independent sample t-test is conducted wherever you have some data from the same category of respondents. If you want to compare, assume you have two group of people, two income group people, or those whoever is vaccinated, not vaccinated, and their perception on something, or those who are buying gold, not buying gold, and their perception on something, men and women and their perception on something. Wherever you have two category of details, with those two category of details, if you want to compare their means, if you want to prove or disprove something, you can go ahead with your independent sample t-test. That is about t-test. And then we have ANOVA. ANOVA is completely analysis of variance among the mean groups. Wherever we have more than two category, assume men, other than men and women, if you have the other categories also, third category, or people not interested in disclosing their gender, or if you have different category of students, different type of users, different income group people, when you want to compare their mean score, under those circumstances, you can go for using ANOVA, analysis of variance, where the difference between ANOVA and t-test is t-test will only tell you whether there is association or disassociation, only that you can prove. But in terms of ANOVA, ANOVA will also tell you the group with which the details are highly influencing. So here we can see there are income groups, second category, third category, fourth category income groups are there. You can see the significance level here. In all these categories, if you can see the fourth group of income groups group is highly significant compared to the other category of income. So this makes you to interpret things in a minute manner. Instead of having 4 or 5 category, concentrate on this particular group, concentrate on, so segmenting and targeting will be very easy, and you can give better interpretation by using ANOVA. That is the purpose of ANOVA. And then we have discussed chi-square. In terms of chi-square, we have 3 types of tests that can be conducted. Goodness of a fit test for a particular set of information, whether there is association among the set that we can prove or disprove. Test of proportions we can prove, and we can also go ahead with the test of associations. Usually this is meant for large sample. All these are non-parametric tests. We can apply for both univariate and bivariate chi-square. Chi-square measures and tells you, is there any association between any two category of people associate? You will find out whether there is association or there's no association. That is what we will be analyzing in terms of chi-square. If you don't have any doubt, we will proceed with the next statistical tool. Organizers, shall I proceed with the next statistical tool, factor analysis? Or if there are any questions from the audience side, I will address those questions. Shall I proceed with the next tool, factor analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Factor analysis, when factor analysis is a data reduction technique in general. When you want to identify any particular factor, you may not be able to identify the factor just like that. We have to consider a lot of statements to analyze a factor that will be the final variable for our case. Okay. So I will just give you a prelude to factor analysis, and then we will have some 10-15 minutes discussion on any, if for your particular research, if you have any doubt or something, we will discuss about that. In terms of factor analysis, we have two types of factor analysis. There is something called exploratory factor analysis and something called confirmatory factor analysis. Exploratory factor analysis is about exploring something new. You want to find out, you want to prove something, you want to identify and you want to show the world something. That will be your contribution to research. There's something called confirmatory factor analysis, where you will be confirming with what is already proved and what is already approved by someone, a standardized factor which is already decided by someone, that you will be using and you will be confirming. Okay. So assume this is one of my questionnaire where I measured reasons for what is the motive for choosing your career in the banking sector, motivation for taking up banking career, where I have identified what will be the motivation for many people in general. There were 29 statements that I have identified based on reviews. Okay. So those reviews, so based on that, there are personal reasons, there were monetary reasons, there were social reasons, because banking job is associated with some kind of dignity, associate with people, societal status, secured and safety work environment, and then leadership perspective is also achievement perspective. So these are all the 29 statements I have used in my study to measure the motivation for taking a banking career. Why are you choosing banking career? Since there are no standard instrument or standard factor to measure the reason for taking a banking career, I have designed something on my own. I am exploring what will be the reason or what are all the reasons. So this particular tool helped me to exploratory factor analysis, helped me to group my variables like this. So when you have these kind of statements, depending upon the response of the respondents, this factor analysis will group. It's called data reduction technique. It will group and give you, based on whatever is grouped, you can name depending upon. So these are all the names I have given: passion for working, manageable workload. These variables have grouped together, and I have named this as personal reason. These are all the reasons, personal reasons that had resulted in choosing banking career. These variables relating to pay and benefits, pension plans, financial independence, lead the family happily, enhance the standard of living, all these are grouped together. So I have named them as monetary reasons. And these variables, I've named them as social reasons. And then these variables as leadership perspective. So depending upon however the statements are grouped, you will be naming. So in terms of exploratory factor analysis, you will explore, you will be naming, but in terms of confirmatory factor analysis, you will confirm to something which is already decided by some other researcher, or a proven instrument will be used by you and you will be deciding. If I can show you a demo on from whatever data I have. I've told you people I'm using one of my research data where I have collected some data for measuring the reasons for purchasing gold, right? So these are all some of the reasons I have. Reasons for purchasing gold. I for even for reasons for purchasing gold, there are no standard instruments. So I'm applying exploratory factor analysis. I'm exploring what are all the reasons for purchasing gold. From my study, I will tell you how to write the interpretations also. This is about confirmatory factor analysis. How to confirm? 1 second, I will just show you how to present the content in factor analysis. 1 second. These are all the variables in the gold buying behavior. These are all the factors I have used. I will show you my questionnaire also. So while collecting data for factor analysis, for exploratory factor analysis, kindly rate the influence of the following on your gold purchase decision. So I have asked my question like this. My respondents have responded, and those details are there in the Excel sheet. Okay. After applying factor analysis, I have taken those statements which has more than 0.5 eigenvalue. Only those I have considered. So these statements are grouped together, and I am naming them as the reasons for investing in gold is for economic reasons or for conjectural consumption. And there is something called conspicuous consumption. So depending upon how these variables are grouping, you will be giving your own name. So these are all your contribution to research. So in terms of economic consumption, when I'm consuming or when I'm purchasing gold, I'm purchasing gold for gold based on these reasons. Location of the retail. I prefer I buy because of the location, because of the offer or mail or exhibition. I'm purchasing because of liquidity. So these are all the statements I have used. So based on how these statements are grouping, you'll be naming your variable. This is the name I have given. I am consuming a gold or I am purchasing gold for economic reasons or for conjectural consumption is nothing but with an expectation of speculative return, or I'm expecting some kind of monetary, immediate monetary benefit because of that. Maybe today I'm getting some kind of benefit in terms of reduced wastage or damages charged by this particular person. This is one of the best seller, usually charges very high wastages and damages. Now they have reduced their percentage. I would like to take the benefit of it. So people, whoever is investing, there are one category of people who will invest in gold because of speculative reasons. So they are named, so these variables are, so buying gold is for these reasons for them. And then there's something called conspicuous consumption, where based on customer surveys and then expecting the gold price to rise gradually, I'm purchasing gold for gifting, and these are all the other reasons, trend in the market fashion. So because of these reasons, I'm buying gold. So this could be another factor. So when you're grouping all your variables in factor analysis, in exploratory factor analysis, this is how you will be grouping the application of factor analysis, and then you have to give justification for these factors. So you have used so many statements in your study. So these statements have grouped into 3 factors, and you are naming those factors. This will be your contribution to research. I have used around 20 to 25 statements measuring factors influencing gold buying behavior of respondents. These 20 to 25 statements have grouped into 3 factors. So for my further study, I will only be considering these 3 factors. So when we are discussing about exploratory, where I have explored and identified the new factors that emerge out of my study, I also wanted to confirm there is association between these variables. Whatever the grouping that has come, that is also statistically significant, and there is perfect association. That is why I have been in for confirmatory factor analysis I have applied, and I found out it is confirming whatever results I have explored, that is confirming with standards, and with that I have proceeded with my further analysis with the particular study. Okay, so this is how I have presented my data, and finally I have applied AMAS to find out the interrelationship between these variables: gold purchase, factors influencing gold purchase behavior, risk involved, risk perception of customers, and then finally its impact on their level of satisfaction of their purchase decision. So this is what I have measured in this particular paper. So the interrelationship among the variables are analyzed by using different statistical tools. So the choice of statistical tool will depend upon your study. Your study will tell you what type of tools and how to use, when to use, whether you want to explore or whether you want to confirm. So those things, once again, will depend upon the purpose of the study. Okay, so there are a lot more to learn in factor analysis. How to apply factor analysis, we will learn how to apply factor analysis in SPSS and how to import your data. Those details we will discuss tomorrow. Okay, if you have any doubt, we will discuss your doubts today. There are last 10 minutes. There's a question on factor analysis. It is meant for questionnaire or the rating scale. Factor analysis is meant for wherever you are using rating scale. Only for those questions you can apply factor analysis. Factor analysis is a data reduction technique which is used to mine, or which is used to, from the ocean of content, you are identifying the factors depending upon the respondents' information, depending upon the way they are responding. The statistical package is grouping the variables. I've shown my paper right here, where the grouping is done by the tool, not by me. By 30, 35 iterations, it will group and it will give you the result. So these variables, you can see how easily these variables are, these statements are grouped. So this grouping is done by the statistical tool that will help you to group. And there are circumstances where any standard proven instrument, whatever you are using, if you are applying that with Indian respondents, sometimes we may not be getting whatever is proven by others. We may get a new result also. Instead of 3 factors, you may even get 4 factor or 5 factor, depending upon your set of respondents. So under those circumstances, you can add one more factor to what is already confirmed by others. That will be your contribution to research. So it need not always be what is proven by others. It can also be something new, whatever you are identifying. So in any research, it is up to you to proceed, and however you are proceeding, that decides the level of your work.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am. This is Yamuna. I have one doubt, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, actually, factor analysis, there are two types. One is exploratory, another is confirmatory factor analysis.
Yes.
So, exploratory factor analysis, we have to find something new.
Hmm.
In confirmatory factor analysis, someone already did. Then why we are doing for this, ma'am? In this SPS, ma'am.
Okay. Already someone has identified and someone has proved, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Using
ma'am.
that particular data for your research. Okay.
Yes,
You are
ma'am.
confirming that it is as per the standard fixed by, or as per whatever is decided by the other person, because you are using that particular variable in your study. Assume you are taking some proven instrument for personality. You are classifying your respondents into introverts and extroverts. Okay. So you are using some standard instrument which is given by some standard author. Okay. So that instrument you have applied, and your respondents have also responded to that, because you are using that information to proceed with your further analysis. You are introducing your study variable here. I'm classifying my respondents into this. To classify my respondents, I'm using a proven instrument. I am also confirming that my respondents are also confirming the same response. So with that, I'm proceeding. Okay. The purpose behind confirming is to ensure that your respondents are also falling under the same category of whatever has been already classified.
Okay. Ma'am, in case if I do for confirmatory factor analysis, I'm not getting the same answer. What I do, ma'am, it will be going on further, or I will stop, ma'am?
If it there are in AMAS, there's something called modification in index that you can apply to find out the standard result. Or in factor analysis also, there is something called, you can restrict the number of factors to 3 factors or 2 factor, depend. In case if you want to adhere to whatever is already confirmed, you can bring it to 3 factors or 2 factors. Okay. Or if you want to go ahead with however your respondents have responded, then it will not be confirmatory factor analysis, that will be exploratory factor analysis, because you are coming out with a new factor. For one of my study, I have used I used one standard instrument to analyze the inclination towards work. That particular author has given only 3 factors. He gave only avoid performance and prove performance, and he gave one more variable. But for my study, I got 4 factors. When I applied it for a category of people, I got 4 factors. The 4th factor was an interesting factor, so I wanted to retain with whatever I found out from my study. That was my contribution to research. So I made a mention. I applied this confirmed instrument given by this author in my study. But for my particular group of people, I got one more new factor that is named like this, because it has these qualities, and these qualities are already merged in this. But for my category of people with the eigenvalue, so statistically it is significant to classify that as a separate category. So I gave that as a separate category. Even that you can do, nothing wrong. It is your research. As and when it makes sense, you can proceed with this. There's no need to copy paste others' information as it is.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
There's always one step ahead. You can always add something. Any other question? We have another 5 minutes. Any question from anyone?
Ma'am, one more doubt, ma'am.
Yes.
Parrot comparison t-test irukla, ma'am. Adu parrot compare t-test, what type of data we can use, ma'am?
You tell me your research, I will tell you what type of data we can use.
It's comparing with one product to another product, or else
you have to collect response from same category of people. Okay.
Okay.
Before introducing this particular scheme, So I gave you this example, right? Investment in cryptocurrency. Before introducing 30% tax on capital gains, what is the investment pattern of the investors? Okay, for the same set of investors. After introducing, what is their investment pattern? Before and after, based on this particular variable, you will compare. Is there any change in their investment pattern that we can analyze, and based on that we will draw a conclusion that this has an impact on the investment decision or not.
Thank you, ma'am.
Before and after. Before introducing some sales campaign, after introducing, with the same set of respondents, before giving the training, what was their productivity? After attending the training, what was their productivity? Data is usually collected from the same set, the same category of people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other question? If there are no questions, organizers, can we wind up today's session?
Before we wind up, I request all the participants to switch on their videos. Ma'am, can you please stop sharing your screen so that we can take the photo, ma'am?
வந்துட்டீங்களா அவ்வளவுதானா? யாரா இருக்குன்னா பேர் சொல்லுங்க. யாரா இருக்குன்னா பேர் சொல்லுங்க. என்னது இது? மந்த்லி மந்த்லி போடுறாங்களா? எப்படி இது? செமஸ்டர். இல்ல அது மந்த்லி வைஸ் இது பண்றாங்களா? மந்த்லி மந்த்லி இன்சென்டிவ் உங்களுக்கு அப்ப என்கரேஜ் பண்றாங்க நல்ல ஃபேக்கல்டிஸ். இல்ல ஒரே வாட்டினாலும் ஒரு பேப்பருக்கு ஒரு இன்சென்டிவ் கொடுக்குறாங்களே. ஓ ஸ்கோபஸ் தான் மெயின். ஸ்கோபஸ் தான்.
Thank you all. Ma'am, we'll meet back tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you.